Good evening, guys, and welcome back to the show. I'm Jolanda.
I'm Alesto.
Ayano.
Sakyan.
So, guys, for all the new viewers this week, we'd like to welcome you for joining us. Before we jump into the hot topics for this weekend, let's do a little recap on the Easter weekend. How was your guys' Easter weekend?
Well, I had a lot of saltfish and dumpling and grown provision, so I'll start here.
I didn't have any saltfish. I didn't have any. Did I? Actually, yes. My friend invited me to a family takeout, a family event, and I did have some saltfish and dumpling. But my Easter weekend was really jam-packed.
I think we had so many activities, and despite the whole COVID restrictions, we had a lot of activities.
How about you, Sakyan?
Easter weekend was regular. School up.
We went out with Sakyan and Sakyan popped down. I just want to show it out
do not
there.
lie to the people
I just want to show it out there. I couldn't wait for today. Yeah, man, let's go out. Let's go out. Sakyan, stand up. You say Sakyan Black Box?
No.
Okay.
I had to go you know what happened? I did mash. That's it. I mean, pop down, but I did mash all day.
You pop down.
You drink one thing.
I drink two things.
You drink one thing.
I drink two things and
So guys, I also had a jam-packed Easter weekend. Definitely had saltfish and dumpling. What's an Easter weekend without saltfish, dumpling,
and yes, I didn't get a conky this year either.
I mean, even as a child, I never liked it, but what's an Easter weekend without it?
Not only that, right? We had to really savor this Easter that just came because I realized that the year before we didn't have an actual Easter weekend. We were actually in lockdown and we couldn't go nowhere. So it's really, really cool that we could be out. People could fly the kite this year. People on the beach.
I didn't really. I went on the lawn with my family.
Oh shit!
I didn't really. I didn't held a kite, but missing out that those traditional events last year was just so sad, and yeah, it was so refreshing.
I think people took a different level of appreciation actually being
for the
able
Easter
to do.
weekend.
Honestly, it's been a while since I've seen so many kites in the sky. Honestly, if you look back on a few previous years, you don't see as many kites as you would see when you were younger. But this Easter weekend, the lawn was full. Like each
Sunday and Monday, I think.
Sunday
was really
and Monday,
full.
and each
we were in camping style, but
each pasture you pass through the villages, you just sing kite, and I absolutely loved it.
So another two things that happened this week. We had two international deaths. We said DMX died and Prince Philip.
You were a fan? You were a fan of DMX?
I would say I was a fan of DMX.
Really?
Prince Philip, I mean, he's 99, I think.
It's about time.
He's lived a full life. I mean, you know.
I just can't really agree based on how they treated, his grandson in the recent weeks.
And also his daughter-in-law.
I can't really grieve his death, and also his daughter-in-law. So
Princess Diana.
it was just more like, okay. But DMX, I see a lot of people felt the death of DMX. Saki, are you quiet?
Don't listen to them kind of music.
I think to a lot of persons were throwing up DMX and weren't really genuine fans. So I think they were just a bit hypocritical.
I feel like it's normal. It's common.
People just want to say, rest in peace. But it's just like, shut up. Don't post nothing. I would rather you just internalize the death of him than for you to go on social media and say I will pay DMX when you only know 2 songs from him.
I mean, you can't really tell people how to show respect to an individual.
I just think if you have to go on social media to prove yourself.
No, then you see, that's your view. You don't feel as though somebody needs to show how they feel via social media, but everybody grieve differently. Personally, I'm not a griever on social media, but I respect how other people choose to channel their emotions. That's just me.
I hear you. What about you, Sakyan?
Okay. So Ayano, hit us with hot topic number 1.
Well, as we're recapping what happened this week was so eventful. I mean, as you mentioned, Easter weekend and the death of DMX and Prince Philip. And then there was the eruption of the volcano in St. Vincent.
The biggest.
Talking about hot topics.
Talking about hot.
Like the hottest topic of the week, actually.
We kind of have to take in a moment because would this be the first volcanic eruption we've experienced in our lifetime?
Probably.
No, hopefully. There was some with Montserrat, I think, maybe when we were young. I guess more me and,
I don't
Haiti,
know.
I know
I mean,
Haiti
do you
and the
really
earthquakes,
experience it though?
I never really.
Because we are here,
Yeah.
And they actually experienced
I think the last
impact of the
closest
hurricane.
thing that most persons here on the panel could remember is the ash from the sugar factory. If Saki and you've been the youngest
sugar factory
person.
closed in Iban.
What?
More year, 2002 is when they closed sugar factory.
I guess we fully...
That's the year you're born? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Maybe the first hurricane that we could fully witness and understand. From a mature perspective.
Exactly. And then now there's social media. So
but I'm just saying that I think that gave us a little small taste of what the ash would have been like. But can you imagine it being covered like in countries such as Barbados? I mean, you know, Miss Barbados is right here, Miss Yui International is here. So, you know, she is the Bayesian representative on the panel who is actually going to say, can she imagine if she was down in Yui right now, she'd be tweeting and on Facebooking about all of what's going on.
So
taping like an individual.
Let's look at some videos, some short clips that we have of the volcanic eruption. Actually,
I just say, look out in general. They will be posted throughout the show.
You'll see it, definitely.
But yeah, that eruption kind of crazy though.
Very much.
Yeah, very much. That's crazy. I would like to be there. I mean,
inside joke.
Sorry guys, it was just a very
mix up. So let's go into the implication of the crisis on SVG and the entire Caribbean.
So, for those of you who don't know out there, most of the Caribbean islands are actually connected to an ardent ground volcano, which goes from most of the Caribbean islands, especially in terms of tectonic plates and stuff like that. So, I mean, we all feel it for, I think, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, especially in this time, knowing that we are on the risk of, you know what I mean, a possible eruption as well.
But outside of... when it comes to the physicality of it, I guess you could look at the emotion, you see the emotion and the mental impact you have. Like you see everybody throwing up there, praying for SVG. I can't imagine how much tears flowed. Like I cried. I think I cried, you know.
You cried?
Yeah, I have friends in St. Vincent. I have like over 8 friends in St. Vincent, and it was just like emotional. I actually messaged them individually. Like it was just emotional watching like what's going on down there. And like even in terms of like people have asthma, I have a friend who have really bad asthma. She was just like, thinking about them being there, make actions that and making her nose hurt. I was just like, you're being ridiculous. But yeah, it's like how lots of emotion fled to the different parts of the Caribbean.
I wouldn't feel like it because a volcano takes so long to erupt. Like you have so much time to prepare, evacuate, or just not be in a terrible situation. So it's like, for me to feel bad is...
I think it goes down to a lack of preparation, and I kind of side with that.
You know, volcano
in the basis that even
long.
To your friend Yolanda, she should have really made sure, and I'm hoping that she had actually stocked up on her nebulizer.
No, I'm not talking about somebody who was there.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay,
so I was saying just relating to how you might have feel just the emotional aspect of it. But it's funny you said it because they said the last...
40 years ago.
No, the last
volcanic
activity on that level in St. Vincent was like in 1902. And it actually resulted in the loss of 1,600 lives because we could use technology to spread the word and better prepare and evacuate. We didn't have that back then, and it actually lost lives as a result. So really and truly, we just have to thank God for technology so that that's not the result that we're having now.
Firstly, I like to say big up UE because UE has these instruments in place that measure seismic activity throughout the Caribbean. So I mean, if they were properly monitored, however, you could have told like this volcanic eruption coming from a mile away. Like they could have done sense the increase in the whatever shaking or whatever.
Because the Prime Minister would have gave the warning, but he didn't give any evacuation thing as yet. But he was saying that they started to see the smoke coming out, and then afterward he was like, no, you guys have to evacuate, leave. But you will still see some videos of people still in the current in their home. People are not leaving. What do you think? Like, would you get you would have literally have to just pack everything you need and run?
It sounds good in theory, but I don't think in reality that's where your mindset is. So by that I mean you could prepare for a hurricane, you could prepare for this, but when you're in the actual situation, I mean, look at the last time we were here in St. Kitts and we actually missed the hurricane that went and hit St. Martin. I don't know if anybody passed through St. Martin after the fact. I remember going through I think I was going to one of the regional islands for a meeting, and St. Martin, even having so much more resources and access to resources, still had a pop-up tent outside that they were functioning as their terminal. I mean, just to show you, like, these things have far-reaching effects on the economical and other situations. So, for me, I think that, you know what I mean, as much as you want to prepare, it's still only so much you can do, and it's also the reality. You're leaving your house. Well, do you really know what all is as important to you in that heat of a moment? Because you're still trying to say, do you carry your whole house, your whole livelihood, especially where you are in your life?
And that's what I'm saying, like, it's something that's easier said than done. I remember seeing a video of the day after they were supposed to evacuate, with the people that were left in the villages walking on the road with their bags and what's not, and somebody on the road was cursing them, saying, like, you know, you were supposed to leave yesterday, but it's just like, you could imagine just packing up, going to your house,
not knowing.
You're not gonna know the
what you're coming back to.
Where you're coming back to, that's one. Any sort of refuge, where you're going, like, what are going to be the after effect of it, like what the government could provide in terms of
where am I going?
As real housing after that, not just talking about refuge in St. Kitts or somewhere else, but like you gain back your own property. The government can ensure that, like, you know, they could recover all that for you. Like,
not only that, right? Put ourselves in their situation. You live in your house. Even if you had $2,000 on your account, $3,000 on your account, remember there are still places that can't even allow them ATM machines might not be working. You know what I mean? So you could still have the resources and still can't do anything.
It's true, because you know some of them who left on the boat who are going straight to other islands, etc. It's like, so for instance, they come here, your card, or me, I'm going to forget my bank card home. When you're going to get access to that, in terms of getting access to your money, say for instance, you were here. Like, it's just some...
It's crazy. I mean, when we hear volcanic eruption, the first thing that comes to mind is like the big explosion and a bunch of lava coming out. And so, but volcanic eruptions seldomly like that. Most of the times, it depends, because I got different types of lava.
Would it just be a buzz?
No, they just literally just run out the side. It depends on how much. It got a lot, because they got different types of lavas. It's like, they got one with thicker and like that one hotter. And they got one where run faster, more like water. But it's a little, you know, that they're going to reach further down inland. But then it's like, sometimes it might not be that bad.
I guess that's
in terms of the damage from
evacuate either, because people probably know that it's not going to be like
poof.
Yeah.
Literally, because that's what it is.
I mean, praying to God that it might blow over too.
When I see the lava start to run down the hill, and it reach probably.
Lava so slow, you could run left, you could see the lava. Oh, yeah, wow, I like running on June, like the June water.
I mean, I think we're simplifying it. We really simplify.
I mean, because we're there, but it have more implications than just the lava. I mean, the ash, you got the smoke and all of that.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's more to it, but I don't feel like.
I think the emotional
it's more than the actual physical.
Because I mean, I don't know if y'all been following the news when the Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves actually got a bit emotional about saying that persons who will be able to, who have volunteer to say, I'll take in a total stranger to live with you until when? Yeah, it's not like, you know, Sakian come stay by me for 2 days. This is like Sakian come stay by me until the inevitable. You might live with me for 2 years. Because not only that, and also how much clothes are you realistically gonna pack within the span of 24 hours to say put it on in a suitcase to go on a boat, and you're out on the boat just here waiting to go to the south part of the island, and you don't know where you're going, you don't know what your next step is.
You're literally at the feet of whoever decides to help you.
Correct. And then they were also getting pressures about taking the vaccine. All that plays a major role.
Yo, even that, St. Vincent economy already one of the
No, I know that's one of the next.
St. Vincent economy already one of the weakest in the Caribbean. So I mean, this would hit them quite hard. But it's a good. I mean, may want someone too optimistic, but it's kind of a good thing for nature, because volcano eruptions actually give nature like a fresh start.
Yeah.
It add fertility to the soil. So when all of this over, you're gonna.
Ash is really important.
Exactly. So it's like these farmer man here they will produce a little better thing.
I think it would be a little bit.
I know.
The thing with natural disasters, right?
No, I was going to say.
The natural disasters.
Maybe they could start a soap industry with all the ash. Because you know ash does make soap, right?
I didn't know that.
Ash does make soap.
That's so it'll be with ash.
You could use ash to make leather.
Okay.
Anyways, right? I mean, the thing with natural disasters, only us as humans ain't like them, yeah? Because they destroy we infrastructure, yeah? But naturally, they're mostly good things, yeah? Because, I mean, even the hurricanes or whatever, like, these are actually sometimes good things for nature. I mean, so, but we ain't gonna appreciate that because
especially from an environmental standpoint.
Yeah, definitely.
Because remember, the lab actually is what causes us to get landmass.
That too, yeah. They're
when
it
goes down into the sea, it actually becomes landmass. That's how most of the islands or life as we know it has come from underwater volcanoes, and then
so some of the people children might live on.
Not even because you can't even say that because look at Montserrat. Montserrat volcano has been erupted for quite some time, and you cannot live on that.
That's just frequency happen too often. It's too much damage. So nature ain't really getting no time to repair. If you understand,
So
just
guys,
damage that.
before we continue, I want to remind you guys that if you want your comment to be heard, head on over to the YouTube channel and comment there. We have a comment here, but it's really somebody saying, Valdo, we want to see you on the front camera. So I guess this is Valdo's friend. So, now moving on further into
the same.
The volcanic eruption. Because what about the movement within the different Caribbean islands, especially say in case like
be a good thing.
the donations?
No, maybe that.
No, I'm just interested. I'm letting them know that's what we're gonna speak about.
We didn't touch on the refugees and the benefits
I
of
was just
having.
gonna talk about that.
And the benefits of having these refugees, because you know they had to evacuate Saint Vincent, and a lot of islands has agreed to take some of these refugees.
Of 25,000, 25 to 30,000.
Right.
Like us.
What do you think about, how do you think that is going to impact their economy? Because their economy, our economy would already be struggling with COVID-19. We're barely back on our feet, and now we have to take in these persons.
I think
the benefits and the disadvantages of
you
it.
could talk about both if you
I
want.
think first of all, the advantages of taking it on the Caribbean personnel is actually more advantageous because they believe more in livestock, and a lot of them are agricultural persons and stuff like that. I think they can help, and I think that it's our civic duty to stand with our brothers and sisters in the region, because today for you, tomorrow for me. I mean, you don't know what are the effects after that volcanic eruption that could actually cause, for example, a possible tsunami and stuff like that, and we all have to stand and rally with each other. From a Ministry of Health standpoint, we actually had what we have called the Caribbean Bubble, which is basically where we group and pool as a region in terms of the fight against COVID-19. So I think that by pooling for a crisis also shows the relationship between all of us and the resilience as a people to stand together in the time of crisis, not just vaccine, not just COVID, not just this, but in terms of different circumstances. So I really want to applaud the Caribbean region for looking out for each other.
Definitely.
And to piggyback off of what you said, the same video that you would have spoken about with Ralph Ganzav, just being overwhelmed by the support from other
regional islands,
other
and he spoke to most of the
you know?
regional prime ministers, and basically they told him, listen, we're here for you and we'll do whatever we can to stand as
the Caribbean as strong people. I remember when Dominica was hit by
the hurricane.
Everybody just
mash up.
pulled
But yeah,
together
containers
and
are good.
I love
literally.
it. I really love to see how fast we are acting with helping our neighboring countries.
I just want to say something about Dominica. I know my funny, but I remember there was a period we get most of our planting and stuff like that from Dominica and bananas, right? So I love planting, like I literally love planting. So with going without planting for like a couple of weeks was tough, like it was really tough. So I'm just saying that we still have to realize the importance of the different resources and how we benefit from inter-Caribbean region. So
it just depends on how much you could take as a nation, as an island. Because I mean, you always want to guide your moral compass being your guide, but you can't be stupid with it. You can't put your citizens at risk to certain things because you're trying to be a good Samaritan. I mean there are other factors. You're saying, sorry, Jolanda, there are other factors like you're saying they believe in livestock or whatever. So let them come, when they come here and they start these farms or whatever, like what gonna happen to the locals them?
What if a man like me wanted to start a farm? These men who got experience in it, and so they're gonna come.
Land that.
Literally.
Not only that, but right now we're actually going through it. We're going through the economic crisis. You know, people out of jobs, experiencing pay cuts, and it's like when you welcome these people,
what they gonna do?
You'll be left at a further disadvantage because you not only have
Not
to host them, but they're gonna. I mean, we not only have to host them, but it's not gonna be a situation where we might provide some monetary funds for them in the meanwhile, but it can't be forever. And as after the fact, they're gonna need to.
If it's 2 days or 2 years.
After the fact, they're gonna need to go out and find jobs, etc. And as I say, it will leave us at a disadvantage because we know competing.
Not necessarily. You know why? One of the good things that I think we have in our favor is the fact that we all use the same Eastern Caribbean dollar. We all are part of the same CARICOM. We all share the same passport, and we have that free movement within as a people. So I think it would be a good opportunity for our locals to also learn from them, and we could also learn new skills. I mean, there are persons who are taxi drivers. There were persons who are taxi drivers who literally gone and start selling food. There's people who are selling food gone into the different businesses.
I agree with all the advantages, etc. of them coming here, but being realistic and acknowledging that we as a people are going to be at a disadvantage. It's a fact. Like, we're going to be competing for jobs.
So we could say the same for Spanish.
When people migrate, they're not only bring a suitcase, they bring the culture,
viruses.
they bring the identity, they bring the viruses, they bring the diseases,
It's
they bring the way of life, they don't have any job, we are the workers. How are they going to survive?
You would say the same thing for the Spanish. They could teach the locals how to do here, they could teach the locals how to cut here, however, like, cause you know that's the thing. But it's like, that really happening? They just come in and just taking over.
Let me ask a question
A good question is why the Spanish them frowned upon, but you're so willing, or maybe you're not one of them who frowned upon the Spanish.
Me frown upon nobody.
It's just
you know what I think though?
Some of them are frowned
You know what I think though?
Slums,
You know I admire foreigners is that foreigners are coming to our country and find all the opportunities that the same people who are here year in, year out and expecting that the government should come and give them a damn handout. And that's just the reality. Because guess what? If I want a haircut right now, I could say, but I'm gonna buy Spanish, you know. And they're gonna say, amigo, boom, and I go in and I get me haircut. But black people gonna say, but no, I go in home, I got to check me tomorrow, and you could be out there. They ain't even thinking that, hey, if I deal with him, I don't know who he is, I don't know who he knows, and they don't know that who, based on him referencing 10 other people, could put me in a better business standpoint. So,
but so here's what you're saying. So you're saying, let these St. Vincent people come, create. Don't you think that they are going to cause even more of a competition for our local people?
I think some of them competition is good. Because competition...
But the biggest question is, can we handle the competition right now during this pandemic? That's a good question. Can we handle the competition right now?
In school, you learn that a monopoly is not really good for an economy because somebody being in charge of the market, they would just abuse the market basically. But the little competition going to make them increase the quality of the service and all that. But then it's too much competition to the point where it's unfair.
Creates creativity.
And
I think competition also allows persons who are here, who are lazy, to get up off their ass and hustle. You gotta hustle. In these, you got to hustle. You can't sit down and wait and expect that, oh, I'm going in college and I'm going to just come out of school and this is how we're going to be. Nah, this is the time we're living in.
How much room we actually got for competition?
That's exactly how much is too much. You think
maybe right now they might come up with the other ways.
People can come and they're going to marry and they're going to get
because guess what? We main industry.
They get citizenship and then
the main industry is tourism. They're coming with the different skills, etc. The main industry is tourism. In the different hotels, etc., half of the staff wasn't even hired.
To them, more money.
So that's another problem because the borders ain't open. So when they come in and they're looking for in them same hotels, it's like, okay, we ain't hiring. We actually let off staff. Where they going?
Person have to be creative.
But I'm with that, because Kittitians,
I'm not trying to be miserable, but
you being miserable.
Person have to be creative.
But hey, G, I understand.
These times here, it's sink or swim. Just look how this table is right here with us, guys, and viewers, tell me what y'all think. The table is here, and I want it to be very, very clear. In this world we live in right now, if you lose one of these legs, the table will rock. but it won't crumble because you have multiple streams of income. And if 2020 ain't teaching nothing, you have to be innovative, you have to be a forward thinker,
I would
and you have to be
like to agree
creative.
with you as it relates to that, but I also have to disagree because, again, when people migrate, they bring their culture, they bring their way of life. It is going to be different.
You might lose your own
what they do
flair.
in
You might
St.
lose your flair
Vincent
as
and how
a
they
country.
operate here
Yeah.
it's going to be
Agreed.
different. It's going to be
Agreed.
different. And I think
I with that, yeah, because them be paying social security and then be paying the taxes.
They're increasing our GDP.
Yeah.
They're gonna increase our GDP.
They're gonna get
But
it
GDP, but GDP ain't mean
Like,
nothing.
are you missing the
Brother,
fact that,
GDP
how
ain't
bad
mean
it is
nothing.
to, how
really.
hard it is to get a
Money
job
ain't mean
right
nothing.
now.
Yeah. So man, understand where they want $1 million. What they do with the $1 million? They put it in the
so-
volcano, 12 people.
We're jumping into
What they want the money for? That what I mean. Don't ask for no money,
they
brother.
want food, they're going
What they want? Food for what? They used to just say that they believe in livestock and stuff. They can kill a pig quick and then do it forever.
So this jumps into the conversation of how our government assisted.
No, this jumps into
Assistance.
oh.
Yes, I know. So this,
Aye, so they say, man, let's say just bang. Them they don't follow the script, but not just bang.
yeah, we spoke about that. Just yeah,
Aye,
yeah,
so
not a
they
chance
say-
to like guys.
We can talk about CARICOM.
Okay, Ayana has something to add. Ayana, go ahead.
No, I don't have anything to add. I was just talking about CARICOM being an essential intergovernmental organization as it relates to being there in a time of crisis.
Ayana, if we giving a hormone.
And I would like to really, applaud Minister Harris for assisting St. Vincent.
You're looking at me like I'm Minister Harris.
I'm trying to connect and link it to the other thing. But no.
So this is our contribution in our federation. Minister Harris donated $1 million.
Minister Harris ain't donate nothing.
Look, okay.
Come
The
on.
government of
Stop
St.
that.
Kitts and Nevis,
Thank you.
led
You
by
tax money,
the
you know?
Prime Minister.
Pledge. Keyword is pledge.
Led by the Prime Minister, so
Like people tell us.
so I can phrase it properly.
Pledges.
Pledged
Good.
to donate $1 million. Welcome families of 2 or 3 who evacuated. The pledge to provide human resource through the RSS. Let me see. Put back up the post,
Immediately
just so that I may have to read the
released to
entire
the-
thing.
Immediately released to the Caribbean
Caribbean.
disaster.
CDMA, sum of US 20,000 US in its special emergency assistance fund in order to bring immediate relief to St. Vincent. And lastly, well, our NEMA, we were going to speak to that specifically. Our NEMA actually posted something saying that you can donate to St. Vincent by they actually gave a list of items that you could donate. You carry them to NEMA and
That make more sense
The
than
list of
giving money.
items are, if you want to take note, drinking water, so preferably island purified rainforest Nelson spring, respiratory mask with filters, because that's needed, non-perishable items, dry food items, bleach, disinfectant, liquid soap, and personal hygiene kits.
even better, we'll post the NEMA list on our page after the show so that you guys could pack up your guys' stuff. I think tomorrow is the day they're accepting the stuff, so head to the supermarket in the morning if you want to.
And if you want to
Donate anything?
if you want to donate boxes, it must not be sealed in order to facilitate expedite inspections by NEMA and customs. So if you're going to carry anything in a box, don't seal it.
Okay, so back to how the government of St. Kitts and Nevis is assisting St. Vincent during this time. Saki, I see that you was eager to say something just now. You're very passionate.
Money ain't mean nothing, you know. As Chronics they say, when the world run out of oil, all of us are get to use. Meaning, in a situation like this, what is important is food and supplies. Money ain't mean nothing. In St. Vincent right now, I doubt people saying, bye, give me $3 for
I
my
mean,
soap.
I don't think it's a
Which
situation that the
really
government
are.
is going to take the money and redistribute the money to the citizens,
We
but
didn't
take the
expect
money
that.
and actually buy the stuff that they need.
But why just not
And
use
then
the
we
money to
distribute
buy
it.
this stuff?
It's-
Why
it's
give them
true,
the
you know,
$1 million?
because
So
even
you,
during
so you just feel as though the
hurricane-
government should have
They should have
actually
just. I
buy
would have
this stuff
preferred
that
for
they
them to say
need.
$1 million worth of goods were donated to St.
I
Vincent.
mean, well, really and truly, the statement was they didn't really say. The
and they put
statement
your face
was-
big, bigger. It's with money. Yeah? But the point he feels big. Just to put up the flag and put up the St. Kitts donate. All he had to do was sign.
It's true.
All he had to do was sign.
Even during hurricane disasters and so I always wonder why they want monetary donation. It's like, we're going to go to the shop and buy something.
The shop.
So I would prefer if somebody was actually saying something but I can't remember what exactly they said that they just use the money for something. I don't remember, but
Probably
to me,
so much other
1 million. We really don't know if it's that's the after planning that they're really gonna use the money.
Maybe he means, remember the keyword in the statement says pledges to donate $1 million. It could be $1 million worth of groceries.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
so for me personally, I think that he should have
money.
specified within his public relations office to say, listen, Rams, I'm gonna get $1 million worth of groceries or whatever
exactly.
in terms of X amount of waters and whatever, and donate those in terms of specific supplies rather than.
Sorry guys.
Yeah.
So do you guys feel as though we are at a good economic position to pledge to donate this amount of money? You feel like it's too much, too little?
I don't check the
I
government
don't think we
balance
can put a dollar value to it. I don't know if most Swiss persons really understand, but I think the media out there would know that every government, the St. Kitts government has an estimates book, which is the funds that are allocated for a specific year. That controls all aspects of government business, and those funds are allocated. If they have to go outside of that scope, they will actually have to acquire or pledge or do other things to get the funds outside of that scope. So for example, if Ministry of Health have a budget of 100 mil, those funds are allocated, which pays the salaries, buy supplies, all these things are already taken.
It's not going to affect us in any way. So
I personally feel if the money was allocated to NEMO, because in the budget they allocate a lump sum of money to NEMO for natural disasters, and they could have just easily took $1 million from that and allocated.
But maybe that's what he's saying when he said that he pledged, because he's the Minister of Finance, so he would know
what he's saying. Why does he can't tell us what he's saying?
But then the thing is, right? If we can help, let's help. Let's not ask whether or not we're in a position to help. They need it.
You can't be dumb there, you know.
But you're not being dumb, you're helping.
I know. Let's be frank.
No.
If I go to the hospital and
it is not the whole of St. Vincent that mash up, you know.
Exactly.
So they're going to take $1 million. They could take the $1 million and buy things within St. Vincent to help these people.
So you find it a problem that they got to pay for their own stuff? In St. Vincent, why they can't help it? Why they can't help themselves? If the whole of St. Vincent,
I guess watching the fact that wherever they have in St. Vincent in other parts is coming from somewhere else. It's not that they manufacture everything.
I'm gonna have to somewhat agree with Sakian on this basis, because the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves stated maybe about 2 weeks ago when they had the volcanic that civil servants they have a population of 110,000. We in St. Kitts have a population of 60,000 in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he's saying that the civil servants only had 2 more months' salary. Am I wrong?
I'm going to read it for y'all.
So it also makes me wonder what is their economic situation, because, like I said, we all follow the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank rules, which still governs a lot of how we do business. So what I'm saying is, how come you only had money allocated up to half of a year, when you would have had to allocate those funds even if you were borrowing from the International Monetary Fund? I'm not saying that they're lying, but you also tell me how are they been using their resources.
Say, donate more for them to waste.
If the prevailing economic situation continues, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines may, in a month or two, be unable to pay salaries. Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves said on Wednesday, quote, and I said to persons, I say this with honesty, the way things are going, they may be in 1 or 2 months, sometime if things continue with the straitened economic circumstances, the government may not have the 30 million every month to pay civil servants and to pay the NIS contributions to civil servants, those who are pensionable to pay the NIS contribution for government, and to pay the salaries and wages, unquote.
So I got a question for Sakian, because I see it's burning over there in Sakian's hat, is everything.
Over here. I will
and I want
it's burning.
So my question to you is,
you don't agree. Well, if it is that they're actually going to give them $1 million, you don't agree with that approach. How do you think they should have helped them? Or we should help them. I know.
With physical. He said he
won't continue his conversation.
He asking the same question that he did.
Every show I abuse it. One show it happened to abuse.
Listen. The next show I think we're gonna split.
We're going to sit down there, man. We're going to put them here to sit down here. I'm going to sit down here.
Next week, God's willing, we're gonna switch the cast around.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy because as Lester was saying, where you only have 2 months allocated, so I mean you're wasting resources. Something they're not Pareto efficiency. Basically, where the economy doing good basically. So it got a lot of reasons why they wouldn't do because corruption or whatever. So it's like what you're feeding the fire, what you're adding to the poor. Allocation of sources or whatever. So it makes no sense give them money. You know what I mean? It's like giving a child money. What they gonna do? Go in and buy sweetie. They gonna go in and buy a bag of chicken.
But what Yolanda asks is what
give them a bag of chicken.
Right, exactly.
That's what I mean. Give them a bag of chicken.
Physical.
Don't give them the money. Why give you a crackhead money? Ain't cracky and buy it.
Yeah.
Give me bread out and the bakery and sand.
I agree with this.
Just make more sense.
Give them the physical.
I agree with Saki on this one.
Yeah.
The same reason I feel about the peace. Give people the resources.
Give them the resources to make them money.
Teach them equip them how to make money.
They're forgetting, right? When anyone talk about a piece, there. But when you pay somebody piece, right? The government gotta find a way to get back the money. Yeah? So then, Skillet gonna continue to break Kittitian back with the bill them, yeah. So the bad man them getting the money. But then it's the mother them gonna pay Skillet every month.
I mean, it's not. I'm not seeing it, but we had a comment that said, just remember that if the show was on the other foot, for us in saying, because we would have won.
I wouldn't want $1 million. I wouldn't want no money at all.
I would have want you send food.
I would have want you give me something to eat.
Send me the food.
Give me some macaroni. Give me a gas.
I think the shelters around the world, especially in the US and Europe and those places, those first world countries, play far more of a role than the money. You know, at that point when you're in a crisis, you're not looking at money. You're looking at basic needs.
But even if
I agree with us, but just
needs and wants.
Just mentioning the word shelter in terms of if they have to build different shelters, etc. The money would play a role in there as well.
Well, you don't have them build. Well, how you gonna build a shelter during this time, you know? Like how you gonna get
I mean, remember, it's not the entire St. Vincent that's enjoying the volcanic eruption.
That's a good thing, yeah? They're helping the situation there. Because the entire St. Vincent, why you just don't try move all your resources into the good part? Why you don't try?
I mean, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you know.
That better? They got more resources.
No, but just saying, like, for instance, in terms of building shelters in other parts, whether it be the Grenadines, whether it be the St. Vincent. Now, I agree with the whole sending goods as opposed to money.
Not even just that.
But I mean, I just really can't count on what they might need the money for. Like, and shelter came to mind just now.
You got a lot of policies they could use too. I mean, if they realize people ain't got no money because they can't afford to pay them or whatever, reduce taxes. Try a thing, you know, you bring the supermarkets to give them an exemption duty-free concession on the goods what they're bringing in. Take off whatever VAT or whatever, so the people them or the country could actually afford to go to the supermarket. Because when you move them from the highest areas to the lowest areas with a little bit of money or whatever they got, then they could be able to thrive in these lowest areas because now they could go supermarket with the $10 whatever they got and buy a good amount of things and last them for it. It just got more things they could do than that.
So you're just saying they need to reposition.
They just need to just sit down
if it's not,
and take out the tears out the eye and just focus and see what they could do. Because when they go up the hospital, you're going to find some people that really in need. Because, okay, so you go up the hospital, you got a gun in your pocket. You're going to go visit somebody, but then you see the person next to them in a bed. And the person like, bye. I told you that we'll come in good now to help me pay for my hospital fee. And you hurt your heart so bad, your fee is so bad, then you got to play fast. Give me the $200. So now you only got $800 left. And the inline review message you tomorrow. I send your email tomorrow. You owe me for this year, this tax or whatever. So you books again. Where you could have hold it $200. That's
so
all.
Guys,
be smarter with it.
Continuing the conversation, let's look at how COVID is actually impacting how the citizens can evacuate. St. Vincent, they're saying that in terms, not only evacuating, but actually within the shelters, they're saying that some people, if you want to remain in shelters, you're going to have to take the vaccine. And as a result, some citizens are saying, I prefer to be homeless and live on the street and die than take the vaccine. And then also we have to look at the fact that some countries, are saying that if your citizens want to come and find refuge within our countries, they have to be vaccinated.
Exactly, that's the
and and sadly, however, some of the citizens are still refusing to take the vaccine. So how COVID is actually hampering them from actually getting the help that they need, whether it's in the shelters or in the countries.
And just to piggyback off of what Jolanda said, the cruise liners were actually there where they were saying that they wanted to help move persons to different islands. But what was playing a major role is the fact that they were saying the cruise line is saying they don't have to be vaccinated to jump on the boats for them to be transported, but they leave it on the basis of the government to make that final decision. Now, to me, I think in that situation, I think it's very, very tricky because you still don't want the islands that are already that don't have travel advisories in place to become overwhelmed. And by that, let me just specify, saying it's a neighbors to start with homegrown, still have a travel advisory in place where if you're coming into the country, you have to go into mandatory 14-day quarantine or present with a negative PCR molecular test and then be retested on day 14. So I wouldn't push it to the extreme of making it mandatory that you have to come in a crisis being vaccinated, but I would say that at least allow them the opportunity to be tested before coming, even if you're taking a 5,000 or 10,000 persons and they put them into the same mandatory quarantine, waive the fees.
Follow the same procedures as people.
That's the question.
The same way Sakian raised the issue about pledging $1 million. Let's put them into quarantine. Let's put them into OTI.
Really and truly, we will have the government. We have to
put them in some community center, brother.
That's so unfair. People, Kittitians, well, want to come home.
But we're in a crisis, Ayana. We can't predict some of them didn't want to come home all the time. Also, they want to come home.
You want to compare Kittitians who well want to come home to somebody who actually were forced to evacuate their homes because of a volcanic eruption. Let's compare the two.
No, I'm not saying that the
government make no sense.
I'm not saying that the government shouldn't absorb the cost. I'm just saying that we're talking about allocating the resources. So why is it the government couldn't find the allocation of resources?
We're going into a different topic. We're going into a different topic here. Let's do this topic.
Because I don't find that to be an essential.
I think the persons who are overseas,
they wasn't helping the economy in any way. They wasn't paying any taxes when they're up in America. So when you want to come down now and reap off for the people them that here struggling.
Exactly.
Paying the taxes and all of that.
Exactly.
And piggyback off
the persons
but not only that, these people, and even that they're coming because all the ones to leave, or we have in saying is a situation where they don't have any other option.
They just exactly.
They literally just accepting any help they could get, and that is why we're going to be more inclined
to help them.
Man, saying don't help them, yeah. I just feel like you shouldn't be.
They need to
wild-headed, and they should just sit down, as I said, wipe the tears out your eye, and sign the best position.
I think personally a good suggestion would be that the COVAX facility brought over 40,000 vaccines, which is for the first and second dose, which is really the 21,600. I think they can reallocate.
Remember these numbers, by.
We can reallocate. We can reallocate the resources. That whatever vaccines are down there, if there are 5,000 persons that are coming to whatever island, because we are getting from the same region and the same area, they can ship the 5,000 as a precautionary measure, so that 6 months down the road we have the 5,000 available to issue it when the persons are ready.
The government.
That's what I think they can do. And in the meantime, if they can come and go into quarantine for the 14 days and they come with a negative test, they can reintegrate into our society and then have the opportunity to take the vaccine, which are already allocated via the RSS, which is the same thing that we got
same
here.
As the other travelers who are
correct.
coming in.
So I feel like they could just put them in quarantine.
I know what makes them so different because they have to go through a volcanic eruption.
I mean, it's just a lot of overheads to quarantine somebody out here, yeah? And them kind of pay. I just feel like that's why you gotta be smarter. I mean, don't come try to give them no 5-star treatment.
Why not?
Because
just a mental touch of that alone, Sakian. You think I don't leave my house?
But I mean, it's the next topic is closely related. But to be honest, I feel as though the reason why the government will make getting vaccinated mandatory is because remember we already positioning ourselves to have the entire population be vaccinated. So it's more of why bring more people here to try to convince after the fact. It's like You just lower the amount of people that we have to convince. Yeah, and I feel like that's how the government is looking at it.
But it's also a shift though. It's also a shift, and to me, I think that at the end of it, you can't really. Nobody knew that 2021 the volcano gonna erupt. Like nobody knew that 2020 we're gonna have the vaccine and all these other things. So it's like you still have to shift as we go along. It's a day-to-day, situation by situation analysis that you have to implement as it relates to these situations. Like I said, if I left my house in Bird Rock or I left a house in Freak Bay, right? And I left a house in Freak Bay, not knowing when she would ever come back to the house where she had her pictures, her whole livelihood, her kids, her whatever, and then you go from that to a boat where you're seeing the country that you grew up in or you lived all your life, and then you go into a different country to do what? Go into a church and sleep on a floor for 3 months,
and you don't know. Only they're being told, come, you have to take this vaccine in order to gain access.
Exactly.
You understand? It's like
it's a mental.
You're extreme in what I said. I didn't say it like that. I just mean you cannot afford to feed these man shrimp and lobsters when they come here in quarantine. I'm just saying a rough fund that we coming off. You know what I mean? I'm just saying don't do too much.
Okay.
You could do enough and still got impact. You don't got shut out and shut off.
Okay.
That's all.
So guys, this last topic of being vaccinated, it being mandatory to be vaccinated, ties in with a hot topic. Second hot topic for the evening, which is civil servants it's mandatory for civil servants to be vaccinated within our federation. So now we're bringing it back home.
No.
Now the conversation of
that. But you said it's not mandatory. It was suggested.
No, that just okay.
It's mandatory.
No, the conversation of it being mandatory. The conversation of it being mandatory.
It's suggested. You can't.
The conversation of it being suggested that it may be mandatory.
Yes.
See, now we have to spell it out for you now.
No, but you can't say it's mandatory.
So we actually have a video. That we're gonna.
You can't say that.
We actually have a video that's actually gonna make it even more clearer.
That's what the PM said.
That's what the Prime Minister said. So we
regarding the matter.
Yeah.
Regarding.
Thank you.
I believe we can begin with, will the government make it mandatory for civil servants to get vaccinated? Mr. Prime Minister?
The government has not taken any option off the table. Indeed, we are considering every available option to ensure that we reach to herd immunity. What we have is a global pandemic that threatens the very existence of our country and threatens the survival of our citizens and residents unless they were to act responsibly. And so we want responsible behavior, responsible action, and that would require that everyone of their own volition should move to be vaccinated. If we were to do that, given the vaccine hesitancy and the misinformation that is being calculated and being peddled by persons who want and delight in failure, we have to ensure that no stone is left unturned in our efforts to get the country where it needs to go.
Well, that's tough.
We're back, guys.
That's real tough.
So guys, my first question to you guys based on the video is, do you think that this press release will evoke any interest or maybe even fear into people into taking the vaccine after hearing that press release from the Prime Minister?
You mean it's going to pressure them?
Yes, it's going to pressure them. It was either fear or
I think people
make them excited.
I feel like if people are already fixed are not taking the vaccine and now it's being suggested that I might have to take the vaccine or I might lose my work, I think that people are going to definitely people are going to get very upset with this government, and especially if they make it really mandatory, people are going to get really upset.
I think, personally, I just want to say I think that it's going to be very, very challenging, and he has to be very, very careful in what he says, because remember, in the civil service you have persons who are appointed, and by appointment means that even if you don't go. There are a lot of little rules to the civil service, which is also governed by the Public Service Commission, and I don't know how those rules going to be tweaked as it relates to persons who are already appointed, persons on this step, and you apply for a job, if it's Rams, if it's whatever, then I think based on one of the videos that he said the employer has the right to say that I'm not taking Ayanna Franks if she hasn't been vaccinated or hasn't had all of her vaccinations up to date. So I think those things will play a role, and he said that is basically the institution's right. But I think it can also have certain other effects in terms of like the Labour Department, the institution, the human rights, it's so many different scenarios that thing will play out. And I don't think I think it's vague and it's wide, and I think it needs to really specify what's the way forward. Because you are in education.
Yes,
you're dealing with kids.
I would actually I actually fall on the category. But similarly, when we're leaving for school, whether it be Barbados, Trinidad, Jamaica, don't know the requirements in Canada and the US. But similarly, when we're leaving, they actually have a list of vaccines that if you don't have, you have to take. Well, Barbados is not as much as like Trinidad and Jamaica, tuberculosis, etc. You have to be vaccinated with those in order to attend school in those countries. Do you think I think it's somewhat of a similar situation where they put the restriction on you.
But you either decide whether you're going to take it or leave it, which I could understand.
But not only the another example in America as well.
For visa requirements. The flu shot?
Citizens, the flu shot. You have to have the flu shot in order to attend.
The flu shot is voluntary. It's not mandatory.
Recently, in 2019, they made it mandatory in order for you to attend schools up there.
Doubt that, but...
No, actually, yeah.
What happened, right, is like... the same year, these tuberculosis shots and vaccines were developed, they didn't become mandatory for you to take and go to school.
Exactly.
It's like it's years after, and people start to normalize taking them, and people become more comfortable with them. Is when they decide to make these things mandatory. So it's like you can't force it on me now, and I got so little knowledge on it and the effects. I mean, it takes years for some of the side effects of COVID vaccines to even show up. Yeah.
But just to add to what Sakian said too, I think the comfort level in taking tuberculosis and measles, mumps and rubella and all these other shots came from something that has been around 40 years, right? That they have the manufacturer, the pharmacist, the whatever, have already perfected a shot that you have that trust and confidence in it. I think for COVID, and I think most of the citizens feel, or is of the opinion, that COVID is a little fresh, and they don't think they've narrowed it down to a science, even though it's all science-based. I'm just talking based on the masses. I'm not talking from a health standpoint, I'm talking based on the masses. So I think that's where the fear comes. I think 2 years' time, 5 years' time, people will be like,
okay.
Ayanna got the COVID shot, be like, yo, I went to get it today.
I always feel that was actually my first reaction to it. Like when people say, you take ABC, you take the booster shots, like you really want to compare this COVID vaccine that was developed like yesterday to the ABC booster shot that was developed how much years before I was born?
Ain't even just when it was developed. I mean,
I think when it was developed,
what the benefits of taking the vaccine really be? Like you still got to wear a mask.
Develop herd immunity.
And you also reduce the risk if you are exposed.
I just feel like
it's the same as if taking the yellow fever shot. If a mosquito was supposed to bite you,
what mean?
Your body better to fight off
it's not
I didn't make an effort. I didn't make an effort to learn about it. Meaning on cap. I really didn't
try.
And
what then should
I feel like it's only as of recent that started.
I think they've been doing a good job.
I feel like it's only as of recent I started seeing more ads, more educational posting, just to make us more educated on the vaccine. But I feel like it's only as of recent. They weren't doing it before. I could definitely.
But I'm not going out looking information because I don't.
Take the vaccine for this to open. Take the vaccine. Why should I risk my personal health
for carnival?
If I am mentally not ready to take the vaccine because I don't know what the effects are going to be on my body, and my system, my reproductive system, my brain, my anything, 10 years down the line when I am ready to have a child.
I feel like pinpointing carnival is kind of unfair. That's to each his own comment. I feel like in its entirety, no, when I say to each his own comment, meaning that in its entirety is not you're taking the vaccine for carnival, it's more of take the vaccine for a state of normalcy, take the vaccine to resume. Take the vaccine, like that's the
campaign that you're seeing.
Please, I could get a chance, please,
yes,
Ayana.
But you cut me off and I wasn't finished talking.
Okay, go ahead, finish, Ayana, finish, honey. Go ahead.
I'm just saying that is the campaign, that is the rhetoric that we are seeing push. That is what we are saying. We're not saying the educational side of it. So the same way that you could have this campaign for carnival, take the vaccine for this carnival, it's the same rhetoric and the same marketing you could use for the education of taking the vaccine as to why we should take the vaccine. How is it going to benefit not only you but the whole country on a whole? You don't have to be selfish with it. There's different ways of going about doing it, and I think that like I said, the rhetoric behind it is not nice.
I didn't do research.
Can I speak now? So I was saying, right? You sure it's not what you're exposed to?
No.
Because I've seen the whole campaign ads for carnival, etc. But I've also seen ads, etc., educating you about the vaccine, and it's basically saying, let's go back to a state of normalcy. Let's go back to the idea of finally bringing back revenue into the country, etc., etc. But carnival isn't the only thing that I'm saying.
That the push and the marketing are different. You understand?
COVID here almost a year now. What we've been doing? The
marketing are different. That's what I'm trying to get.
I feel as though based on the population, people are responding to different tiers of the reason they should take the vaccine. Some people are focused on they want me to take the vaccine for carnival, whereas others are focused on I want to take the vaccine and they want me to take the vaccine for a state of normalcy.
Let me ask a question.
I feel like
let me interject on a government side. Let me play devil's advocate, right? So the reality is, I think we all live in an information era. I think we live in an era where we all walk around with basically small computers, which is our handheld devices, whether it's be a tablet, your smartphones, all that. We all are exposed to data. We all have internet access. And I think the onus is on the general populace to conduct their own level of research. Right. This is not the time where we were small-minded, or we did not know, or my grandmother take it because the nurse who is a nurse for 100 years will come and say take it. This is an era of information, and I think people need to conduct their own level of research to really be able to make that own decision for them. I don't think it should be a forced thing. I think if Ayana feels like she might have whatever underlying conditions, and based on couple situations, she feels like she's prone or she's ready to take it, then she go right ahead. I don't think it come down to a Lester, a Sakiana, a Ayano. I think it's a personal decision. Exactly. I just want to put that out there in the media. I mean, everybody have their thing, and everybody must know. I understand the economic effects. I understand all these other things that goes on as well as. But I
think we should have just not straight for a state of normal. Sorry for cutting you off here. But we're saying the same thing. It's time for a change. I mean, why fight for a state of normalcy? COVID here almost a year and change now. Like, what we've been doing to try, what the government been doing to try get next source of revenue, rather than trying to bring back tourism, where you didn't innovate, where didn't you, almost a year? Gee, trust me, where you didn't revamp, where you didn't take a different perspective on your economy.
Let's look at the whole, not only revenue, but let's look at the whole idea of being outside without wearing a mask. That's back to a state of normalcy.
That's cool, that's cool, but I'm just saying if we wanted to
being outside without wearing a mask, you could enter into not being 5 feet apart. Like all that is the whole idea of state of normalcy.
Some people don't be it. But what I mean is, right? We focus so much on bringing back tourism instead of we find something.
Find alternative.
Instead of tourism.
Yes, I agree.
Because if the factory was still running, we COVID wouldn't mean that much to us here. It would be like, we still exporting sugar because people even more would be exported. Because them English people who want to drink tea. What they want for the tea? Sugar. So I mean, like, it would just be. We should have spent more time on focusing.
I agree with Sakian. I think personally, going into
waiting for
I agree with Sakian.
For tourism to catch your hand. What
is that? that if the government said that, okay, we're going to make this vaccine mandatory, do you think it's going to contradict our human rights?
Of course it will. And I think that... I think that it could also possibly cause a revolt. I think it could also cause people to protest. Because, it's like, again, people... The world we live in is different. Nobody's gonna just sit down and just say yes. That's just where I'm just talking on the general masses.
People gonna say no just for saying no sake. But I love people that say no, because then when people say no, the government and so gonna answer these people that say no, and then that's how you get more information out of the government. So when they say, let me say when they bring the vaccine, everybody was glad, happy, like, oh, vaccine here, and who was 70% of the population going? They could wait. The 70% of the population going to take the vaccine.
No, that's what I wanted to
do. You think that choice, so much choice I had to be in farmers and all them extra things? You realize there's only more information coming out every day. They want to be giving out these more information if you're a while and just going to take the vaccine one time. You check, so these people that saying no and these people that standing up, helping all of us in the end.
Somebody said, Gillian Morris, I do not think they should make the coronavirus vaccine mandatory for persons like me and other persons have severe allergies.
Exactly.
And it's true, everybody got their own.
I will want it to work in the government. I will want
you don't get lazy.
Down foreign affairs and the government say I need to take the vaccine and it's a lousy work. That's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, but you
remember... Is a lawsuit they would get?
You can't get a lawsuit if you're not appointed, you know? That's how it works. When you work in the civil service, let me just educate you.
I've been a private service member for my
so let me educate you. When you work in the civil service, unless you're appointed, you're considered a non-established worker.
What?
So basically, you can be terminated at any point. Am I wrong, Jolando? Until you become an appointed person, which means that it goes up to the Governor General, His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, you have that level of leverage. Outside of that, you're working.
You can't easily be terminated.
You cannot be terminated because it has to go through a board, and the Public Service Commission have to be able to say that they don't think that Ayana is being treated whatever.
So question. If I get a job, the government could terminate me at any time.
Of course.
You want to say appointed?
Based on
unless you're appointed.
Unless you're appointed, you could be in the position
so
and what you are considered is that you are acting.
We had like 30 so far.
30 something?
30 something.
So if these people lose their job, who can conduct the day-to-day business? Who can conduct the day-to-day business of
I feel like
it was more special.
If you
to try influence,
it was a quick shot.
It was a strategy. Actually, I think it was a motivation strategy to try to get out people to go out and get vaccinated.
I feel like we're wasting time talking about.
I agree with you.
No, me saying that it's gonna happen. Saying that I feel as though it was just more of their strategy. They just want to make it feel like it will make it happen. And it's just like, let me go do it quick before they make it mandatory and the line get long and I got to go in the line.
No tables will be left unturned as to how to get people to take the vaccine.
No, nothing is coming off the table. As in he willing to.
Because he said that it will become a state of national security in terms of the opportunity cost and the greater good for the masses. But what I'm saying is, I think that it is a very, very tough topic, because the reality is that if Ayana is already appointed, and even if I send Ayana home, Ayana will be home until legally there is that situation with Ayana is brought to the Public Service Commission, and then in her situation Ayana could say, well, right now I'm pregnant, right now I'm expecting, right now I'm having difficulty, but maybe what other factors health-wise that came into her that can hinder her from taking the vaccine. I'm not trying to say, and please don't let nobody quote me, but I'm just saying, like, whatever underlying medical conditions you may have, which might be your reason for not taking it, you might be saying that you're considering yourself a part of the herd. And that's where I think it will get really, really tricky.
As soon as you finish.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because the thing is, right, who in control? Who is the Public Service Commission? Who pay them? Who does pay them?
The government.
Government, innit? So if the government wants to make the vaccine mandatory, I'll fire all of you. You think who get mandatory? The commissioning and just got a meeting.
Remember they're legal.
They just come through, okay, yeah, they're getting fired because of this XYZ, boom, 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 they sign, boom, you're going home. I'm just saying is let the government in control of who they're firing and who they're hiring. Where they got a separate entity, all of them still getting paid from the government.
But I'm going to also say,
so I feel like everything is just
I'm going to also go back to the point
on paper, but ain't really in practice.
I'm going to also go back to the point I made earlier. It's just at the same table. Just at the same table, even if you lose one source of income, you must have multiple streams of income, and that's why I said you can't sit down and rely on tourism, and that's why I must agree with Saki on 110%.
I feel like Saki made an awesome point. Like,
what happened, right? You know what the reason was for that, though? Long time I want to say this. You know what the reason was for that? Election was last year, so they focus on how to get people to vote for them instead of worry about how to make the people them happy again. They just go around, give everybody $500 and give the Spanish them the ID them so they could vote instead of trying to find a way to get over this pandemic. They're worrying about, and that's why I hate to live here. But
remember the Satya, that in their defense, we have never experienced a pandemic of this magnitude. It's a global pandemic.
So only experience is how we just learn?
If you never know.
How I know so much about volcanic eruption? I never experienced a volcano eruption.
I mean, you're better prepared if you experience something.
But if you don't need to be prepared. You need to see everything is in theory.
Economics. It's economics.
It's in theory. It's like saying unemployment. Okay, saying that poverty is bad. And you can experience it. So let me go live Brazil also where poverty high and see how poverty goes so I could experience it and be understand.
This is how
poverty feels. Like everybody everybody know.
It should have been more advanced based on observation.
Not even just that. Everything is just said it's an information error, right? Just so we got access to the information, so does the Prime Minister. You understand that? And it's whole board.
Let me highlight a significant point, right?
You don't need
in 1913 or 1912, right, we had the Spanish flu era that lasted for 4 years. We only in year one they didn't have vaccine and didn't have all the answers at that time. I'm just saying that to say, and I'm supporting what he's saying. I'm just saying that to say that was 1913. My grandmother born 1931. I'm just saying, people say that was still 100 years ago. But I'm just saying that and they were wearing masks. The same masks that came around. So I'm saying that the information at that time, that's how they best felt to deal with it. And you know what happened in that era? After 2 years, people started to get comfortable and lackadaisical. What ended up happening? The numbers increased because people felt like, oh, well, that gone now inside the thing. So it lasted for 4 years. I'm just saying that it's still fresh. COVID itself is still fresh.
So I think we are excuses, just so you got enough information to make a vaccine, you got enough information to fight the friggin' virus.
I feel like we also have to acknowledge that.
Besides the whole scientific and health part.
I feel like we also have to acknowledge it's so fresh and something that's so detrimental. Ain't even only saying, like, looking from an international perspective across the globe, it's like literally they themselves are finding it difficult to even combat the virus. So they're not saying that. Yeah, saying it should be way ahead of them, like we'd be the most innovative, but you have to acknowledge that we are not the only ones who are struggling.
Correct.
With how we're gonna combat the virus.
And also to
like,
what I'm saying is that right now in the region we are leading compared to all the islands in terms of flattening our curve. And we have to give them a round of applause for doing that.
It's not about the curve. Because people sometimes it end up people being supported before to dead.
It's not about poor. What I'm saying is,
how are we supplementing our industry? Regardless of
stop worrying about curve. Everybody focusing on the curve.
What I'm saying is, right now, St. Kitts does not produce anything at all. We do not produce anything. But what I'm saying is that you got to say one and say two. We must still commend the Ministry of Health that right now we still have a false sense of a bubble that we are living in. The freedom that we are living in.
Well, the Ministry of Health. But what happened to this ministry is them? Only Ministry of Health working. On the Ministry of
what I'm saying is, as a result of the guidelines and the protocols that they have put in place, we are able to function in a sense of normalcy today.
I understand, right? Ministry of Health did the part. What happened to Ministry of Sustainable Development? What happened to Ministry? What happened to all of these ministries? What are they sleeping?
Let me ask you a question.
They sleep. They getting free money all this year and a half now.
Let me ask you a question. How much persons really going into agriculture?
Watch now, watch, put the camera on me going in agriculture, watch now, give me some subsidies, I want a piece of land, and I want a little 100,000 to get me tractor, and all of them things. Give me. But fed up of these, my ass, I make excuses for them. Ministry of Health, you did well, good job, right? Come on to the rest of the ministries, them.
It's more
than just collecting money from people and then just farming.
To be honest, I feel like this conversation went. This conversation.
Flattening curve.
No.
Everybody flattening curve. What ministry at all is being talking about flattening curve? So again, works, man.
No, I can't wait for a minute. No, the conversation. I feel like what happened just now, based on because I wasn't really that heated. The conversation with left, right, center. Alessa was responding to how well Sankis had been combating dealing with COVID.
And
based on just the population itself. Yeah, and acknowledging the fact that, like, you know, you're saying, like, we should have been focusing on dealing with COVID as opposed to, not because it's fresh, but if we were spending less time on focusing on elections, etc., that we would have been better able, we would have gone back to a state of normalcy. But we're basically acknowledging that. That's not what you were saying?
What I was saying is, right, nothing is wrong with flattening the curve. But all the ministries, them shouldn't be focusing on flattening the curve.
Right now, health will take a priority. Health will take a priority because of how business has to be conducted.
But take your priority.
For example, the health of the nation became the focal point as a result of the pandemic.
You said the focal point, but there are other points, right?
So
that's all I'm saying.
Now,
no, but first and foremost,
but then you went to the rest. First and foremost, you did well. First and foremost, you prioritize the right thing. But then what happened to the things behind the priority? What happened to number 2, 3, 4, and 5?
And what was these numbers? What
are they learning?
The election was only in June of last year.
No, don't not wait, no, Let
them say the last piece, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Are you serious? Not wait, no at all. Because number 2,
let's understand what you
understand what Sakian is saying.
I think he understands, but I feel as though the view is different. Sakian,
I'm very happy that we don't have 1,000 plus. I mean, COVID cases. I'm grateful. Ministry of Health, big up again, right? But it's more you prioritize it, but then you sleep on the other ministries. Them you could have been fighting.
You know what I'm gonna ask you? What then can they have done differently?
Develop a new industry.
Like what?
Something. Research and development. They could have focused.
You know my problem is I am not going to critique Ayana for coming in here tonight on her camouflage, but I will say, Ayana, instead of wearing camouflage, put on a white blouse. That's what I'm saying.
So you hire him. That's why you vote for him.
You're not listening. You're going off on a different tangent. You're going on a tangent.
Let me finish then. See, you didn't. I didn't vote. No, because I just do economics and it bother me for real. These men, doctor, and these masters in all kind of things, where they need a man who ain't even got a bachelor's and ain't even finished his associate in economics to tell them how to set up a new industry and which one to set up. Why I gotta tell them that? What voting for him for? Best I do one for Prime Minister.
What are they set up?
But anything, research and development.
Like what?
They got Dr. Neil, they got Pano, Young Boy, TVM, right? This Dr. Toad, he deal with the robotics. They could have focused on that and try to develop some new robotics thing and saying it's this new thing for robotics and all of this. They could have done something with agriculture. Because agriculture easy. You know what happened? We always find a way back to roots. The human development and evolution started with agriculture, fishing, and all of these things. We're going to end up back to these things. You know what I mean? So free tourism. Stop begging people to come to your country and then suck the big toe when they come. Sell some things to United States. Sell some... you could do a lot of things. And just listen to industries. I'm spitting. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm spitting a lot. These men ain't...
I'm just saying, Sakian,
these men got doctorate.
Between March...
Men graduate
I understand what he's saying. What I'm saying is, between March, April, May, and June, when the election was, what realistically are they going to come up with? What you're saying in terms of robotics is there. Since I was going to say robotics was there.
So they were showing you this how long they
have they perfecting it? This how we a contingency plan. What he's saying is it makes perfect sense. What I'm saying is, okay, outside the tourism, right? What does do? Trinidad and Tobago close the border and function on their own. Why? Because one, they have bauxite. They have other things that they produce. We produce nothing. We import 85%.
Invest in these things.
Alessa was not. Alessa wasn't.
Obsolete. You know, bauxite mean no. Bauxite.
What I'm saying, Sakian, is that we don't produce anything else right now.
So that we don't have the resources because we don't have the natural resources.
But we got the land.
The land is the natural resource.
Who is developing it?
The farmers. They got a lot of farmers in St. Kitts.
It's only now that I started to look in this
farming thing. To sell it to who? They're selling
to sustain yourself.
Is it generating enough income?
Why isn't it generating enough income?
I'm not saying so.
Because we focus for XYZ years on tourism. Begging the white man them to come down here. The same people that enslave us, begging them to come down here to see them, to show them Brimstone Hill, what they help, what they build. What they make with great-grandparents them, build.
Struggle and build.
Bring up all them black somebody see to build that.
What I'm saying, Sakian, is even in this time.
That wouldn't mean
I don't think Alessa is disagreeing with you because I also agree that we should find alternatives. But I think what he's trying to say is during that period of time when there was so focus on trying to deal with the health, it was like near impossible to try to introduce something that was so fresh that would generate that much income.
But I mean, June all of it. They could have found
the human resources.
It would have been hard
to still find people.
He was saying that it's going to be hard. He was saying that it's going to be hard.
We started the conversation.
During that time.
We just started the conversation, right? And talking about. Here is it that we're in a pandemic and a crisis with St. Vincent, and we're saying that their economy is based primarily on livestock and agriculture, right? And we're saying that even if we take 5,000 persons, 5,000 to our country, put them into quarantine for 2 weeks, they come out negative and they're integrated into our society, how then are we utilizing their skill set? No, we're not even going to look at the negatives. How are we going to utilize their skill set to learn and help to create an avenue now to help us to generate revenue to sustain ourselves? How? That's my question. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I'm saying to you, Sakian, that even at this very moment, I said Dominica will receive our plantain and our bananas from Dominica. What are we doing in terms of barter from St. Kitts to Antigua, St. Kitts to Trinidad, St. Kitts to whatever? What are we doing? What are we offering internationally?
Because we've been doing nothing and focusing on tourism for however long. And then you say the prioritize health or whatever, but I prioritize in school right now. So that means I can't go play tennis. That means I can't play my band. You see, not because of focusing on school, mean I should lapse on these other things. That means I must not get up and play the guitar.
I understand what you're saying. But I think
you know, in early COVID, they had these stimulus packages for agriculture and so. I will want one. I just want them to say, here, Mr. Green, here one. Where they be? How much people here get these stimulus packages?
I went.
With the land. And all these things.
I went to get the plants so you could actually plant in your backyard and stuff like that. I wanted lettuce and different things to grow at home. But what I'm saying is, they just wasn't available. And again, that is my point. It's not even sustainable where enough could get to everybody. I mean, those simple...
Come on, Alessa, man.
You're being very, very unrealistic about the whole situation.
I feel like, even in terms, I could understand what Alessa saying.
Unrealistic is the word he's saying.
No, unrealistic.
Come on.
Yeah, being unrealistic.
In this year,
yeah, being unrealistic.
I live in it, Alessa.
There's literally a whole private association called Backyard Gardeners, where they themselves had to push agriculture, had to form their own
Thank
group.
you.
No, but you can't say You can't
But what I'm
say
saying is,
unrealistic
I'm just
and
saying that
happening.
is it sustainable
Yes,
enough
it is very
where
sustainable.
they and the farmers here we can't even produce enough eggs to meet Marriott quotation.
Because
and
you know what?
I'm just
Because
saying
Lindsey Grant want to keep a monopoly
oh,
at the egg
Lindsey
farm.
Grant, no, Lindsey Grant,
That's
no.
why. That's exactly
Really?
why.
Really?
Because them man in country.
can't even
poor men
produce.
that own an egg farm in charge of agriculture and all of them. You ain't think you fight down the rest people them don't want to do it. The man creating this dog. Bye, watch now. I don't watch.
In part of agriculture.
He's Minister of Tourism. He's the Minister of Tourism.
But I mean, these men in it. All of these men is friend.
Yeah.
What I'm
If
saying
my
to
friend
you,
got a farm
what
and
I'm
somebody
saying
asks
to
me
you
to start a
from
farm,
an
let me start a
economic
farm against
standpoint.
Mayo, one at a time.
What I'm saying to you, Sakian, is that from an economic standpoint, that's saying it cannot sustain the hotel industry in terms of the amount of eggs we should basic quota. If we can't even sustain ourselves, how the hell we can sustain a region?
You know why we can't do it? Because we're not implementing the technology needed to use this egg farm.
Do we have the resources?
Why not? You
I'm
just
talking in
talking
terms
about robotics fund since you in college.
Come on, let's start.
But it got these methods here you could use. You could use hydroponics to farm enough things on the small piece of land. You could use all kind of different things to get these eggs and get these chicken to produce these eggs or whatever. It's just how you do it. And all these things could be. Watch now.
I feel like we definitely need to tap into alternative means of getting revenue. No, definitely we need to tap into them, but I feel like, as I say, it drifted so much. It wasn't about what we need to do to increase revenue, is the timing and all the things that we were battling at the time. That was the conversation.
Correct.
And, that is what really was left in a disagreement. But guys,
I just want to put it out there that Sakian is still my partner, and we have our own discussion here, and it's nothing serious.
But I need to say this though. Don't feel like what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with politics. Because I know that the first thing Kittitians gonna say. And Bevan, if you're making clips, do not edit this out. It has nothing to do with politics. It's just me living a hard life, seeing this thing, and like no longer study and realizing, but we really ain't doing nothing. We ain't doing enough.
We are not doing anything as a government, as a country, as a whatever.
People. When we want to say Vincentians come down here to show us how to do livestock. and all these things, and me doing research about it now. Me doing research about it now. G.
What I'm trying to tell you, Sakian, my dear brother, is that the world don't start before you, with you, and all when me and you gone yonder, it's going to be the same problems. The government system operates the same all the time. This is not a situation of today. Since before you said, I'm so happy, I'm so happy that you pointed out about the 2000 when you're born with the industry of sugar, and I'm just saying that even at that sugar era, we didn't even have the knowledge to sugar for our own needs. We shut it down. You know what really annoys me in saying it? Imagine, the sugar factory shut down. We didn't even keep the history alive, where people could have it as a heritage site. We didn't even preserve our history. And guess what? Just like what you talk about. Christopher Harbour came here. They took pieces of the same sugar factory, put it over at Salt Plage, and commercialize it and milk the local people of the same thing that we had up there rotting down right now. But that's just to show you that we have no vision and we need to unite as a people.
And that's a fall from home. And you're going to start way back, but I mean it, this ain't got nothing to do with politics. But this year start back from long time, even in doggy era. It's them man make us develop this mindset that government gonna give us everything. That's why people could vote for government now, because they give them $500. It's dumb. That's the dumbest thing ever. I hate election time. Because how you could say, in your heart, the fact that I'm willing to give $500 to vote for me is because I know me what it. Yeah. Because I know I can't win. So I gonna give you $500 because I know you need it. So, and I make sure you ain't get it. So when election time come, that $500 mean a lot.
So guys, we see that we're gonna need to have another conversation.
$500 for we
guys, we're gonna see that we're gonna need to have another. We're gonna see that we're gonna need to have another conversation on the government the different arms of government, things that we think that needs to be improved, the budget, etc. Look out for that show. But thank you for tuning in this week, guys. You had a mouthful on how we feel about the COVID, the volcanic eruption. Guys, we're asking you to send out your prayers. Not only send out your prayers, but you can donate to NEMA. I think it's something to do tomorrow. The accepting goes 2 in the afternoon and 5 in the afternoon. So guys, go check out the list. We're going to post the list. Donate to NEMA tomorrow if you really want to support St. Vincent. And don't forget to follow the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. It's theshow.kn. Right? Thank you for tuning in. Expect more heated show because remember we are raw and unfiltered. Bye, guys.
And Saki and
Don't take nothing personal.
Damn it, G for life.